In response to earlier questions on the page, this is the mixer. All you have to do is take the 4 screws out. There is your fuel pickup. You know, a big part of the time when one won't start, especially one that's been sitting a long time, you can almost suspect the fuel pickup. This one is a little bit dirty, you can see, but the screen is clear and you can hear the check valve rattle. The reason I'm doing this is it needs a new gasket. I mean, the gasket is bad off. And apparently I've left an extra one on there. There's an old, probably genuine Maytag gasket. Get rid of that. Now this is how I do it. You know, I mean, I'm sure everybody has their own way. Make sure the gasket surface is clean, or as clean as possible and smooth. Take a razor blade just to make sure got as smooth as possible. You can see how dirty that is. I'd put this gasket on. It's not much though. What I'm going to do is sort of wipe that out. Careful not to get anything in the fuel tank. All that looks pretty good. And what I use a Forma gasket that is formulated for 2-cycle engines. Non-hardening. Take a little bit and just put me just a tiny little bit. Well, I gotta open it first. I mean, just barely any. Around the bolt hole especially. That's where you will get your air leaks. Same with the bottom, just tiny little bit. I'll take my finger and just sort of smooth that out as best I can. Get any of the excess off. Be careful not to mess your return tube or anything up. But like I said, this is formulated for 2-cycle engines. It is fuel proof. Take my gasket, sort of lay it over, and that helps it stick to it too. Makes it a little bit easier to put on, because these can be a bear. And then I will take just a little bit more and put on the other side to help it seal, especially around the bolt holes. Just a tiny little bit. Because these things do leak sometimes. So just a little bit. I take that. That, find my screws, if I can find the hole. This is the fun part. This little engine has plenty of patina. I have not cleaned it up any. I built this out of junk I traded for and had laying around. And somewhere there's another screw in this mess. There it is. I will let this sit overnight probably before I run this. This one runs good, but it had a major fuel leak. My little homemade caution plate made out of scrap metal. shouldn't leak now, but you can probably see it has been leaking for a while since I built the engine. It's got a couple hours run time. Now hopefully it's good for another 75 years or so. Plywood on this one I think dates to 1934, but there's no telling where all these parts came from. And that is that. Now, another thing, we had comments, guy couldn't get his engine to start. Most likely it's the check valve. Check valves at the bottom of the mixer. And this is what the inside of a mixer looks like. You've got a little flapper. This goes up inside the mixer body. There's a spring here at the end. And all this does is under compression, opens and closes with the spring. Now these two surfaces have to be close to perfect. They have to mate just almost absolutely perfectly. Like that. But that is what makes it work. That's how the engine gets its fuel. Pulls it open, close, open, close. Well, that's all there is to it. I'm going to clean this little engine up a little bit. Try to leave the patina.